It is of public importance to figure out, did that guy lie?
Australia has admitted that when it comes to COVID vaccines, the harms outweigh the good for young people. Took your time, didn't you? Hello there, you Awaken Wonders. Remember, we stream Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we make this additional content offline, where we have a look at a particular news story in new depth in order to bring it to new light. If you've been watching Rumble during the pandemic period, you would have been well aware that even at the time when it would have been relevant. Nevertheless, it's worth looking at these stories now because we can use it as a kind of litmus test when it comes to information we're currently receiving and the likelihood that it can't be relied on. Certainly, you can't rely on the sources that they use, which include Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, nearly every single living president of the United States lined up behind a syringe in order to tell you what to do. Let's remind ourselves of that before looking at where we stand on these issues now and why we cannot trust them probably ever again.
Our fellow Americans.
Right now, the COVID-19 vaccines are available to millions of Americans.
And soon, they will be available to everyone.
The science is clear. These vaccines will protect you and those you love from this dangerous and deadly disease.
Anytime there is a cross-party alliance, it's worth examining what their motives might be. They're playing all this harmonious music as if this is a lovely opportunity for generalised unity, but in all likelihood, what you've got is the full force of the establishment coming together to ensure maximum efficiency.
They could save your life.
So we urge you to get vaccinated when it's available to you.
That's the first step to ending the pandemic and moving our country forward. It's up to you.
So there you go. That was consensus, a consensus across the political spectrum and across the world that the vaccines were safe and effective, and if you didn't take them, you should be publicly shamed. There may be a tremendous effort to get you to forget that. But remember, there's video evidence. This reporting is from John Fleetwood in Substack about Australia's reversal of its recommendations that young people should continue to take the jab. In a quiet but historic reversal, the Australian government has officially updated its national immunisation guidance to state that healthy individuals under 18 years old should not receive COVID-19 injections, citing potential harms. According to the government's own website, the COVID-19 vaccine is not recommended for healthy infants, children or adolescents who do not have medical conditions that increase their risk of severe illness. The update cites the extremely low risk of severe illness in this age group and explicitly acknowledged that the benefits of vaccination are not considered to outweigh the potential harms. 3, 4, 5 years later, they've reached the rational disposition that they could have been at on day one. Here is a medicine. It may be advantageous if you have particular respiratory or cardiological conditions. If you are young and generally healthy, you don't need the vaccine. Now, saying that a few years ago would have been tantamount to these days saying, I don't know, men shouldn't participate in women's sports, or you can't have a moral and ethical system of government if you don't believe in God, because there are no absolute verifiable principles, just conjecture and consensus derived either from masses or an intellectual elite, neither of which you can trust. So what I want you to focus on during this video is not just what we know now, but what we don't know now, but might yet assume on the basis of what we're learning as the truth is slowly revealed with regard to the pandemic. An extraordinary yet recent period of massive radical change, authoritarianism, media deception and wealth transfer. The recommendation published on the 3rd of June 2025 marks a stunning shift from earlier public health campaigns that heavily promoted COVID jabs for nearly all Australians, including children. The admission follows mounting international concern over adverse events tied to COVID shots, including myocarditis, pericarditis and other complications observed in younger recipients. Now, another significant establishment voice was, of course, Anthony Fauci, and whilst he might be currently vilified and under investigation, whether that's a sort of a media investigation or an official governmental one, here he is in his pomp, in his prime, with Barack Obama telling you what to do for your safety, for your health.
Thanks to the work of the Biden administration, Dr. Fauci, we already have millions of kids around the country who have gotten vaccinated, which means that if you're still thinking about it, get informed, talk to somebody you trust, your family doctor, your pediatrician, a school nurse, get more information about it. They'll tell you it's safe, it's effective.
Under what authority were they telling you that at the time? Under what authority? How could they possibly have known something that's demonstrably now untrue? So what was their motivation in telling you that at the time?
This vaccine is tailored for kids, and
But now we know the harms outweigh the benefits. So what personal responsibility does Barack Obama and Anthony Fauci bear? Certainly they'd have been happy to take the credit when it was record numbers of people getting vaccinations and we're returning to schools. Think about all the celebrities that lined up. Remember them. Of course, if your theological purview includes forgiveness, then grant them forgiveness. But forgiveness on the basis of repentance. The forgiveness is based on turning away from the old life. Do you think that Barack Obama and Anthony Fauci have turned away from the ideology that brought you COVID and the solution of COVID and the numerous benefits of COVID when it comes to the authority of globalist imperialists and the profits of commercial corporatists?
Then come on down and find a spot to get vaccinated. You can get it for free just by going to vaccine.gov. It'll tell you exactly where you can go to get vaccinated, and make sure to do it, as you said, for your kids, your entire family, as well as for the community at large.
And I think we should probably tell Barack Obama and Anthony Fauci exactly where to go. Let me know in the comments and chat exactly where that might be. Now, the FDA have updated their guidance when it comes to Pfizer and Moderna vaccines. Have a look at this.
In Fox 5 Health News, the FDA now requires COVID vaccine makers to expand the warning about rare heart diseases and risks linked to the shots.
All right, joining us now, Dr. Purvi Parikh, Clinical Assistant Professor of Infectious Diseases and Immunology at NYU Langone. She has done research with the Pfizer vaccine, by the way, worth noting. All right, walk us through what these warning labels now say in the update that the FDA is requiring.
Right. So, this is a rare side effect of both the Moderna and Pfizer vaccines, myocarditis or pericarditis, which is inflammation in your heart. And currently, that label is already there. So Pfizer's vaccine says that the risk is highest in males aged 12 to 17, and Moderna says that the risk is highest in males 18 to 24. So essentially what the FDA wants is kind of to combine the two and then, label it for that risk to be from, age 12 all the way through 24. So it kind of encompasses both of their warning labels, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think give us some context in terms of how rare this might be. What kind of risk are we talking about?
Right. So in the grand scheme of things, if you were to get infected with the actual COVID virus, your risk for myocarditis or pericarditis would be significantly more. And we see that significantly more, as much as twice as likely. And some studies even go so far to say 4 or 5 times as likely. So again, this is extremely rare in a very specific age group. And there's also ways to mitigate that risk. For example, by spacing out vaccine doses, sometimes they're less likely to get that inflammation. But still, for the general public, the risk is extremely low, and the benefits of the vaccine outweigh the risks.
Excellent framing of the information. Remember, the function of the media is to frame information in a manner that is convenient to the agenda of the powerful. Let's continue with the article. US CDC data shows that 38,600 deaths have been linked to the COVID jab since 2020, but fewer than 1% of adverse events are even reported. As a 2010 HHS-funded Harvard analysis suggests, the real number could exceed 3.8 million. Do you remember some of the hysterical and marginal prognoses that emerged during that period? Unusual men like Steve Kirsch coming forth to tell you that there could be millions of people worldwide affected by this. And do you remember thinking, this can't be true, this can't be right? But have a look at these numbers, do a little bit of maths, and it seems likely, given the way that information is currently being released, that they were right. Pfizer's own data showed over 1,200 negative health outcomes associated with their mRNA COVID shot. Australia's updated guidance comes just days after US Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy announced that the COVID shot would also be removed from the CDC's recommended schedule for healthy children and pregnant women, citing a lack of clinical data to support the repeat booster strategy in children. What the COVID period revealed is that elites regard humanity as a kind of homogenous blob, that there isn't time to be discerning about whether pregnant women or young children should take the vaccine and how that research could ever have been undertaken. Pregnant women don't generally present themselves for clinical trials. We can't make an assessment of the impact over 5 to 10 years of a vaccine that's only recently been developed. It's just common sense, as a matter of fact. But beyond the common sense are deeper diagnosis of the relationship between the governed and the governing. And what's revealed is they will tell you whatever they need to tell you in order to get you to behave how they want you to behave. They will always tend towards maximization of state authority and profitability for corporate and commercial interest. That's without getting into any possible occultist directive when it comes to the real agenda of the powerful. That stuff is difficult to corroborate. What's not difficult to corroborate is they lied at scale. They're even now trying to roll back the deception and lies that covered the earth during that period of time, sending out a variety of people to create a sort of a state of bewilderment. Oh, we didn't know this, we could have known that. Was Joe Biden really senile? Will we ever know? In order to create really just a climate of generalized confusion in which it's difficult to make the sort of diagnoses that were bleeding obvious to anyone switched on pretty near the beginning of this process. You know, when you first heard of Rumble, you thought, oh, what is this little organisation? You thought about Royal Rumble, didn't you? You thought about a rumble in the jungle. You thought about a rumble in your tumbo. But now we know that rumbling is the sweet tectonic plate shifting towards free speech. And if you get Rumble Premium, you don't only get great content creators like old Rusty Brandstein, AIPAC-supported Zionist, you also get Mustafa Brandishahad. He loves Islam. Also, you get old Russ. He loves Trump. And then you get Russell. He's a big fan of Kamala Harris. How many people do you need on one channel? You gotta get it. This is a free speech conduit where you're free to be whoever you wanna be. It's all available to you in the Rumble chat. For a limited time, you can get 10 of your American dollars off, and you can use crypto, baby, using the promo code AIPAC. No, using the promo code BRAND. Visit rumble.com/brand and get your discount today. The near-simultaneous reversals by two Western governments underscore a growing international retreat from universal COVID vaccination, at least for so-called low-risk populations. The good news, at least in the United States of America, is that due to the ascent of Bobby Kennedy, radical changes are taking place. For example, these changes within the CDC. RFK has removed all members of a CDC panel advising the US on vaccines. Also, he said, today we are taking a bold step in restoring public trust by totally reconstituting the Advisory Committee for Immunization Practices. A clean sweep is necessary to re-establish public confidence in vaccine science. The entire world once looked to American health regulators for guidance, inspiration, scientific impartiality, and unimpeachable integrity. Public trust is eroded. Only through radical transparency and gold standard science can we earn it back. Now, whilst Kash Patel's interview with Joe Rogan may have garnered a lot of scrutiny as a result of the apparent Bongino and Kash Patel reversal when it comes to the Epstein files, he had some interesting things to say about Fauci. Have a look at this.
I mean, we just had a great breakthrough this week on Fauci. So Senator Rand Paul, Senator Kennedy, and I hate naming names because I always forget people, are doing a great job with us on COVID origins. And we've got multiple investigations open on that. But they had always been looking for Fauci's original phone, or not original, but phones and devices he used while he was Fauci back in Trump 1 during COVID. And nobody had found it till 2 days ago.
Really?
Yeah. Now, look, your audience and everybody listening to it shouldn't jump to the conclusion everything's in there. We'll look at it. We'll pull it. We'll rip it, as we say. And maybe it's deleted. Maybe it's not. But at least we found it. And at least now we can tell the American people we've been looking, because it is of public importance to figure out, did that guy lie?
The challenge is this: even if you're an anti-establishment political figure, when you become part of the establishment, then where does your anti-establishmentism go then? The function of the system, I suppose, is ultimately its own sustenance. So what we're observing unfolding now is a world recognizing that they have to acknowledge there was a lot of deception and ineptitude during the pandemic period. Potentially, the entire thing in extremis might be regarded as a plan to legitimize mass authoritarianism, and potentially even some of the more peripheral theories around population control. But now, various systems of power have to conduct the contradictory task of revealing information that undermines their legitimacy while holding on to their authority. This is going to be a complicated tango of power where you'll get given some information and other things will be concealed. There will be revelations, but not to the detriment of the system itself. Ultimately, I suppose what we have to conclude is that we must remain personally discerning, never trust authority, and I would suggest investigate together the potential for parallel economies, ecologies, and political systems. But that's just what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments and the chat. And remember, we stream these times on these days on Rumble, and get Rumble Premium to support our work. In the meantime, if you can, stay free. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to see more uncensored content where free speech can flourish, join our live stream. Click the link right here to watch the next video if you want to, or become a member of a growing movement. Download the Rumble app and you'll be informed every time we make a new piece of content. Stay free.